Welcome, traders. My name is Adam Harris, Chief Market Analyst, and I am looking ahead at, this is going to be obviously technical analysis for the week commencing 1 July 2024. And first of all, I'm going to start off by looking at the economic calendar. So really the most notable stuff here, I want to have a look at how the UK economy is going. So we've got PMI data for the UK. The US economy is just on fire. It's absolutely fine. There's no real concerns at this time, despite whichever rabbit hole YouTube videos you watch. There is nothing at this time we need to be concerned about. So US stuff also looks good, but here's where I want to be kind of on my toes, is the initial jobless claims and the ADP non-farm employment change. As you might have worked out, we have non-farm payroll coming up this coming Friday, so that is the big one this week, except with the exception of the UK election, the general elections. So I want to encourage all my fellow Brits to get out there and vote, ideally pro-democracy and less corruption, whichever option that appears to be for you. Let's try and save global democracy as together, and obviously try and keep on keeping corruption under control. So that's it. So really, let's go ahead and have a look at the charts. But that's it. So non-farm payroll on Wednesday, non-farm, I beg your pardon, ADP, and then non-farm payroll on Friday, and then of course the UK general elections, which is where I will be putting my vote hopefully to good use. So that's it. The rest of the stuff should all tick over and provide just the normal average amount of volatility that it would then add on an average basis. So that being said, let's go to the charts. So starting off with the VIX as usual, sitting down near the lows. So again, the only reason I check this is because there's been no significant change, and that means that everything is nice and happy and healthy. The future, so let's have a look at the DAX. So last week, I beg your pardon, the dollar index. So last week I spoke about a climbing higher, which it subsequently has. And I think the momentum is still very much to the upside. So I think that it's just going to continue to just slowly drip its way up. That monthly continues to look nice and bullish. And the implication here is that there's just more momentum to the upside, which means we reasonably expect a stronger dollar against the other majors. So have a look here at euro dollar. Euro dollar is testing support here. It's continually putting in lower highs. So at this time, at the time of recording, it does look as though it's building up towards a breakout to the downside. And that could possibly happen when we get to non-farm payroll. We'll have to see how that goes. But there's no clear direction on the monthly. And so really, they're basically saying that the euro and the dollar are closely correlated in terms of strength. And then we've got sterling as well, testing these levels of support. It looks weak on the weekly. It looks that more bearish on the weekly. We'll have to see how that goes. And again, it's sideways on the monthly. So this makes it a little bit unpredictable. And of course, with the elections, we're going to have to see what happens with that. So basically, to sum up very quickly, depending on which party gains the most seats, they may have a more conservative or more, I don't want to say liberal, I want to say more conservative or less conservative, be dovish or hawkish in terms of policies, which could then lead to a stronger, weaker pound. But most likely at this time, not expecting any surprises, and we'll see what happens with that. The main goal is making sure that we try to reduce corruption and try to increase strength in democracy. All right, Aussie dollar, US dollar, you can see it's hovering near the highs here. So the Aussie dollar itself is relatively strong, but when you look at it on a weekly basis, it is stuck within a range. It doesn't really have a clear sense of where it wants to go. So I'm just going to frame that for you so you can see it. We need to see what's going to happen with it here. So it does appear as though it's got a little bit of momentum to push it up to the upside, but a stronger dollar might keep it within, keep it under check. And of course, I don't really want to commit to anything here until we see it break out to the upside or break out to the downside. It looks as though the momentum is to the upside at this time, but I'll confirm that when we see that breakout. Kiwi dollar battling up with resistance there and also largely going sideways. So again, a lot of this could very much have to do with just kind of not knowing what's going on with the US economy, or at least, sorry, with the US politically speaking. You can see how dollar yen continues to push higher, but yes, the Bank of Japan was complaining a little bit about having to intervene. So they're not happy. So the threat is ever present, and we'll have to see how that goes. But again, as long as this trend remains intact, there are still potential opportunities until they do ultimately intervene. But the threat is there. It is real. All right, dollar Swissy. Dollar Swissy back up in this area. Now, the reason I bring this up is because there is actually an equal potential here for those to head back down this week. And I would look and see what happens really from the start of this week. And by the end of the week, if we see this heading low, we'll have dollar Swissy, this downtrend staying intact. And we'll see euro dollar strengthen, or if we continue to break through here, we've sort of broken above these highs, we'll then have that stronger dollar playing in, and dollar Swissy will continue to rise. So it's been on my watch list for a while. My expectation is the Swissy pairs will continue to climb. So actually this week I'll be looking to see if these can actually keep pushing higher. We've got dollar CAD. Dollar CAD is still stuck within its sideways range. Okay, so not a lot there. It just makes it makes it unproductive to trade as a swing trader or day trader, and really doesn't do much there. Let's have a quick run through the yen pairs very quickly because they're all generally still bullish. There we go. So any pullbacks here for me would be buying opportunities. Pound yen, same thing again, looks really, really good. We've got Aussie yen is going to look nice and bullish as well. Day trading as well, these will provide some good high probability opportunities. Kiwi yen starting to break out there. We've got Swissy yen. Let's see how that's doing. Consolidation here. So that looks potentially like it wants to continue up. We've got CAD yen. All of these do need some retracement. You can see they haven't really pulled back to the moving averages in a while. They do need a bit of a pullback soon. Possibly we'll get that this week. Then the Swissy pairs. So Euro Swissy, my expectation last week I spoke about us getting the swing lows and expecting them to start to go higher. So Euro Swissy has started to head higher. We've got Pound Swissy, help me find it. There we go. Pound Swissy looking good so far. I like that. So that looks decent. We've got Aussie Swissy, which was looking very good. So that's quite nice. Having broken the highs here, so we've got that shift to the upside. Series of higher lows. We've got an uptrend, high lows, high highs. We've got the 50, 20, and 10 in a bullish formation. And we've got the MACD trending higher and above zero. So everything here is bullish. Okay, so Aussie Swissy nice and bullish. Kiwi Swissy similar. Also here, look at this beautiful break of resistance, a pullback, a retest, bullish candle, and again, all the same features here. MACD trending higher, moving averages in the correct order, above zero. All of this looking very bullish. Okay, CAD Swissy also having a bit of a big move, still looking a little bit more bullish than bearish right now. So again, my analysis, in case you missed it for some reason, is that I believe that we have a high probability of a lot of the Swissy pairs introducing new trends for the coming months to the upside. Okay, so that being said, let's go back to the rest of the stuff. Let's have a look at gold. All right, so gold, as I said, range bound for the most part, bouncing off the bottom here, and you can see a bit of that sort of running out of steam here on the high time frames. Could have pulled back down to these highs at 2-1. It could. There's no reason why there wouldn't be a monthly retracement. We could see that happening, especially if we suddenly got a stronger dollar out of nowhere. But for now, it is range bound within this weekly thing. And so a break below these lows to me would be quite significant if it's a breakout to the downside. If that happened and it was successful, then yes, I would think we're going to have a big move down towards 2150, 2100. But until then, it looks as though it's going to try and hold the support and possibly try and push back up to the top of the range. Silver as well, doing the same kind of thing. You can just see there's just sellers up above here in control, pushing down, and you can see that monthly potentially setting up for a swing high and a pullback down. Let's see how that goes. So I'm just cautious with those. Natural gas coming back down again. So this, natural gas I've been talking about for absolute ages because it keeps producing these sort of bullish divergence signals, tries to reverse, and then just gets kicked back into this downtrend. So and that's the only time that I can ever recall this happening over such a long sustained period of time. It's the only example I can think of. But anyway, so this continues to push down, not expecting much change there. Crude oil is within this, it's within a triangular shape, meaning it's got higher lows and lower highs, so it's working its way into a bit of a pressure point, and is likely to have a breakout sometime soon, and we'll see if the US dollar can assist with that. So for now, what I'll be looking for this week is if we are stuck within the downward sloping area. So let me just bring this in. Let's just sort of do it this way. And we'll just kind of stick it like that. So it's still got some potential move to the upside. Otherwise, I would expect it once it gets this area to find some resistance and potentially reverse unless it's ready to break out. So just remember that it is stuck between a sort of a triangular shape there and a symmetrical triangle, and therefore buys and it's going to start to swing. And even though it's bullish now, it could in this near future find some resistance there. Then we've got West Texas as well, which is the same. I would expect that. Sorry, did I not look at light crude? They're identical. So they had the same issues here. What I'll do is let me just outline it on the monthly here so we can all see it. I'll just do it this way. And then I'll do another one this way. That way we have got most of this. There we go. So that is your kind of, and actually this could subsequently break to either side. So let's just see how this goes. But we're not in a trend just yet. It does look nice and bullish. We've got a series of high lows. This looks really nice bullish engulfing candle. So in isolation, all of that implies a break to the upside. But at the same time, there's clearly lower highs, and therefore that just makes it very tricky with a high degree of confidence to see which way it's going to go. All right, global indices. let's have a look at these. So I spoke about these potentially building up to a breakout to the upside here. So far, I would say it's still within that pattern. So it hasn't really broken the pattern to the downside or the upside, excuse me, and therefore, by definition, this pattern is still forming and it is still intact. Okay, so then we've got this I find interesting. So here's a little bit of a double top on the S&P. So I was saying to you, any kind of pullbacks here could be buying opportunities, but here is what I'm looking at here on the weekly. We've got a little bit of exhaustion there. So what I'd like to see is if we do have a bit of a pullback down towards the previous highs would be great. Anything that could potentially produce a nice little bit of a down move and then a move back to the upside there. Let's see if that's the case. But we had a bit of a pullback here, and then we had a bit of a bearish engulfing on the Friday. But the monthly looks really good, so I'm not too concerned at this time. We might just be due for another weekly pullback. But overall, we're still looking good. So as strange as that seems, I think we're still looking very good on a monthly basis, and therefore there's still quite a bit of bullishness. We might go sideways for a bit and then break to the upside. Let's see if that happens. So basically what I'm looking for the market to predominantly still hold in general more bullish, but there might be a bit of a correction further down and then a bit of a move to the upside there. Nasdaq will be the same. Okay, so here we've got the potential for a lower high, but we haven't broken the low here. That's what I would absolutely be looking for. But yes, the question is, will we get a bit of a pullback down towards the 19,000 level and then a continuation to the upside? Let's see if that is the case. Overall, I'm still happy with the strength and the health of the markets. Russell 2000 now getting ready. It's trying to produce a higher low and work its way to the upside. It actually last week had a slightly higher week and closed above the previous week's high. So that's good. That's not a bad sign. That's a good sign. The FTSE as well having pulled back. So this was an area where I was looking to see if that was a sufficient pullback. It did break the high. It hasn't broken the low yet. So we're still stuck in this. And overall, I would still think, I'd be surprised if we pull back here and go. We could do it. We could come back and test this for resistance and go. So that'll be interesting this week to see if we do hit a little bit further down to the 8,000 level and then carry on. Alternatively, I expect to see us continue on. The DAX has already pulled back. That looks okay. So that one not looking so bad. That's why I highlighted that with an arrow. That consolidation still intact. Kind of trying to prepare for a bit of a breakout here. That's what it appears to be doing. So that will be very interesting. Then we have the ASX out of Australia. So mishmash, bit of a mess over here, but also in its own way a little bit of a triangle forming there. So let's go and just grab this, something a little bit sort of messy like that. And you can see how that pressure building up from both sides. But this would usually lead to a breakout to the upside when we're looking at an index. We're looking at currencies, could go either way, but with indices, statistically, they tend to go up more than anything else, and therefore breakout to the upside. Looks pretty good. Nikkei looks good. Bit of a consolidation, pushing higher here. A series of high lows. That still looks nice and bullish. So again, not seeing anything to be alarmed about. Right, let's move on to the equities of interest. Apple definitely overextended here on the weekly and due for a bit of a correction would be nice. It might instead, this is why the green box is here, might just want to go sideways, tread water for a bit, and then continue up. Interesting to see if Monday brings any kind of a shock to the system. It'll be the 1st of July if there is anything. But otherwise, this should be the monthly candle for June. All right, let's move on and have a look at Amazon. Fine. You can see the consolidation and the push higher. A little bit of a pullback here, a breakout, a bit of a pullback into this and a continuation. So for now, I'm relatively happy with that. Nice and bullish. Very happy with AT&T for now. That looks amazing. So really nice, strong continuation to the upside there. We've got ARC still stuck within its box and basically not expecting any change from that for now. Then we've got ASML. Okay, so ASML is definitely struggling with this resistance area around the 1,000 mark. The monthly looks okay, but it is battling in that area. So overall, I still expect this to continue to push high, even if it has small pullbacks. The momentum is still more bullish than bearish, but yeah, it's battling a bit with that resistance level. Glencore still stuck within the range. For me, a really big deal when we can get it to break out of here. Let's see if this level of support where it is at 450 can hold, and if it could break out from there. Tesco looks great. It did pull back. We produced almost a perfect setup. I would have preferred it to come back down a little bit here, a little bit further to touch these highs. And that might be the case. But overall, generally still bullish in this area. I don't think that it's too overbought. I don't think it's, I think so. A little bit of an area here could work out nicely. So let's just move this to sort of into this area here. That's really what I would be looking for, something in about this area to be able to find support and then continue up. All right, so let's have a look at Amex. Still good. So I highlighted that little inside bullish candle. We did break the high. Okay, let's see. We've got that monthly, which looks like it wants to do that correction. So a lot of the charts we've had the last couple of weeks have been this sort of contradiction between the weekly and the monthly. The monthly looking as though it needs a bit of a correction, but the weekly looking fine, or the monthly looking fine and the weekly looking like it needs a bit of a correction. These are already conditions of just an ongoing bullish market. Berkshire Hathaway battling with that 420 level just for in terms of resistance, but also forming a triangle here. We've got a series of lower highs and a series of high lows. So it's effectively consolidating and leading towards a breakout. Coca-Cola continues to trickle higher. It's good. I like the fact that I think it's fair to say, ladies and gentlemen, that it has so far managed to break out of the box. If I actually adjust the box down to where the closes are, we've managed to creep out of the box. I'm going to remove this because I don't think we need it anymore. It now looks more and more like it is starting to break out and just trickle its way to the upside. BP and crude oil will be pretty much in lockstep with each other, so this is just kind of where it is. And I marked this to see if there was a build-up over time, to see if we're going to get a bit of a build-up over the lows, higher lows, pushing us towards a bit of a breakout, I beg your pardon, to the upside. So let's see if that's going to be the case. ExxonMobil, right up, pushing right up at the top of its range. Still stuck within it, but I'd like to see it leave the range the way we just saw Coca-Cola do. General Motors, also looking good, continues to push its way up. Bit of a reaction off that $50 level. However, I think it's just going to keep pushing up. JP Morgan Chase doing really well, man. It's overextended on the monthly, but at the same time, it looks very reluctant to kind of want to give up some ground. It could benefit from a bit of a consolidation move, but this is also producing a little bit more of a higher lows and sort of a bit of a triangular type of breakout. Looks more bullish than bearish. QQQ. Here looks like it wants to get ready for a bit of a retracement, but overall looks really good on the monthly. I had mentioned this area. This is another example of where I would have preferred for this retracement to come back to these highs, but it carried on, showing kind of signs of bullishness. And again, here on a weekly, it looks really nice. That's a break and a retest. That's very clean. So for the most part, I still think this is bullish. We'll see if the market sort of tread water for a bit now, but otherwise they should continue to basically slip their way to the upside. Now we've got Adidas having come back down. This is really nice. Nice little bullish candle that's formed in this area. That could be a potential move to the upside. So I'm just going to mark that. Then we have Facebook, Meta, which just again back up at these sort of these highs over here. You can see it does want to continue pushing. I think it's doing fine. It had a decent pullback. So for the most part, again, I expect these to just right now, I'm expecting them to just keep trying to push higher. Same thing with Morgan Stanley. I really want to remove all these lines. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to remove these red lines, just start from scratch, just do a very nice clean chart. So give me a second. There we go. Much cleaner. So there we go. Just cleaned it up. Updated all the levels, and there we go. That'll do. Again, nice little pullback. No reason to not expect this to continue higher. NVIDIA starting a little bit of a retracement here on the weekly. I mean, it's gone parabolic. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get these types of corrections. So we had this sort of consolidation, this area and a continuation on. Here, if we do pull back to that 100 level before we continue up, that's perfectly acceptable. MACD is still nice and bullish. So for now, this trend to me in isolation is very healthy. The question is whether the parabolic here is going to become enough of a rejection that we're going to see a bit of a pullback. And in those cases, you're going to pull back really. In fact, you can almost work out where it's going to come back down to. It's usually in an area sort of somewhere in about here. So it would pull back somewhere to around about at lowest somewhere around that $60 mark and probably as high as 82 level before it just resumes and goes up. And then that would correct that parabolic angle, which is just ridiculous, and it would be nice and healthy. And again, it could be within 6 months be back up at the highs. So and still retaining those types of things. I know that a lot of employees and insider stuff where they've placed orders, they'll refer to it as insider trading, but if you have stock options and people have decided to retire and take some stuff, you're going to see a bit of that happening. So it's not necessarily a sign of danger, more just a sign of health. I mean, as in a company that's doing so well that some of its staff are able to actually retire. Obviously, there's always a fear of losing talent there, but that is something that's normal in every single company everywhere. Netflix continues to kind of trickle to the upside, looks relatively healthy. I know that it's got highs that it has to battle with where it is now. We'll see if it can do that. It's definitely trying to overcome that. We've got PayPal, which I give up on PayPal. That's just heading much lower now. So this is just does not seem to be in any way at this time. It's desperately this bullish divergence. I mean, it is trying, but it just isn't there yet. In order for that to be the case, I'd have to see a big bullish candle, really nice, strong bullish candle. That would have to, somewhere in the next kind of 6 to 8 months, would have to find a base and really be a strong, really strong rejection of that, maybe a buyout or a merger or something. And then I would see, okay, there's a reason for this to turn around, but not seeing anything there. Spotify also running a little bit out of exhaustion here, but it's consolidating a lot in this area. So we'll see whether there's a correction, a bigger correction, or whether we get that continuation, whether we get that consolidation and then a continuation to the upside there. Spider, excuse me, trying to work its way out of this range. That looked good. We had that retracement. I know that we've got the bullish divergence. We've got a lot of stuff here. We've got a double bottom. We've got bullish divergence here. We're almost above zero here. It's broken out, come back, retested these highs, produced a bullish candle, and has now produced a swing low. So all the characteristics are here of a change in trend and a move to the upside. FedEx. Beautiful. Holy cow. Look at that bullish engulfing candle. Holy cow. And look at this. I mean, we did really nicely predict some nice little bullish pullbacks here into this area, and it's gone and taken off. And even though I did that, did I trade it? No. Do I have shares in FedEx? I have to go and have a look. I'd have to see. But no. So I don't always engage in every single thing that I see. There's just so much stuff out there. This one looking good. Oh, so this is Tesla. Okay, so Tesla's now broken out. It's testing that 200 level. So that's a relatively decent sign. But just to give some perspective on this, it is still stuck within the last 5 or 6 months, let's call it last 5 months worth of behavior. Now, I did say last week that once we broke above that 50-period moving average and we broke through the downward sloping trend line, then I would be willing to concede that that sentiment has shifted. And to be fair, this does look like an upside down head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders, which has it's actually an 83.4% chance of success, meaning there's at least an 83% chance this could break and that it would work its way up to 264, 250 area. So let's see if that's going to be the case, but we're not there yet. It really does have to break through this area. And if it does fail in this area, then potentially we could see a bigger move to the downside. But this is a bullish formation. So let's see what happens with Tesla over the coming weeks. Then we've got Vanguard looking similar to a few of the others. The monthly looks great, not overextended. The weekly looks a little bit tired, but overall, this looks really good. Very happy with that. Walt Disney. So Walt Disney, I'm looking for in this area for it to turn around. And this would be a very similar type of behavior to FedEx. So the pattern that we're seeing, not in FedEx, in SPDR. So this structure here, this double bottom and this break above and a retest, this type of structure is exactly what I would be looking for in Walt Disney. And we're looking for this pullback into this type of structure, a bullish candle here. So let's see if that's the case. Not there yet, but I have highlighted this entire area where I think this is sufficient room for it to do that, but it isn't there yet. Then we have the 10-year T-note in an uptrend pushing a little bit higher. So we do have that. It's trying to creep higher. I think we should be paying attention to this slowly but surely. Not saying, pulling the trigger on anything just yet, but just definitely there's something different about it. Okay. Eurobond, sort of potentially here as an inverse head and shoulder. We know that Eurobond has been trying to turn around for a while. Nothing has changed there. Okay. It is still within this range, but it is starting to look a little bit more bullish. A definite bullish divergence here as well. So these kind of things could take a year or two more to really unfold, but I'm just starting to pay attention to those. And bonds often, historically, and in fact, we've actually broken the history recently with this. Historically, bonds tend to provide more support when markets are more bearish or more when the markets are more kind of unsure about themselves. But recently, even over the last 4 or 5 years, bonds have continued to be shunned even by bears. And that's interesting. That's very new. And I only comment because bonds could be coming back in. And that isn't necessarily a sign of impending doom. In my case, I would argue, I put money on it, that it would be a sign of diversification. Very wealthy people out there have just filled up their portfolios on stocks and cryptos and properties and everything. Now they're like, okay, what's left? And they'll be looking at bonds. But, the tail can wag the dog. We'll see what happens there. All right, let's have a look at cryptos. So cryptos, I spoke about them being largely range bound. We could still see a bit of a correction, but in principle, the behavior of this is very similar to a lot of the equity stocks we've looked at, and therefore consolidation before move higher makes a bit of sense. They are mostly kind of doing that. So for now, I stand by that. We're still kind of range bound, and even a bit of a break lower to me wouldn't be a change of that just yet. We could break down to 50,000, and I believe this uptrend would still be intact. So I'll leave it like that. Ethereum still the same for that type of thing. We've got Solana, so there's nothing here that is really blowing me out. Even drew in a green thing there saying that we could get a green bar this week, and we did. So there we go. Not a very big one, but we got a green one. I was about to say size doesn't matter, but we all know size matters. Okay, so then we get break of these lows. So there's no real trend here at the moment. At least it's a downtrend. But again, this structure here, very similar. This could be a really good place for it to potentially find a base and turn around. Let's see if that's the case. A break lower than that, not very good. But where it is, it can still turn around. And Binance really just trying to go high and just continually failing. So this one has the opposite problem to Cardano, where it can't go any higher, and it looks like it's getting ready to kind of do a move lower. Meanwhile, Cardano is stuck really at the bottom and can't quite seem to turn around. But overall, again, I still see these as being more bullish than bearish, just taking a bit of a breather in the same way that a lot of charts are. Guys, don't forget we have the greatest, kind of the biggest election of our lifetimes, at least since the Second World War, coming up in November, and whether we are not in the US or not, it is going to have global repercussions, and so we need to be just understand that the markets are going to be watching that and very much kind of cautious about what kind of uncertainty that brings. That being said, there are still some opportunities this week. I think those Swissy pairs on currencies are looking good. Some of the indices still look pretty good to me. I still lean neutral bullish rather than neutral bearish or bearish. And I think I'm going to leave you with that. Gold and oil, not very attractive to me. That's it. Ladies and gents, have a fantastic week, and I will see you next weekend.